we are consumers of political media.
Oh, 100%.
And in our heart of hearts.
Yeah.
We love political media.
I do it for the love of the game, too. I'd be watching it, just like that.
We're constantly consuming it, and to that end, I have another entry in our ad series here today.
Okay.
This was created by the Ron DeSantis Super PAC. It's also called the Never Back Down PAC, which I think is corny.
Very.
And it kind of, that name is a little bit of a precursor for what this ad is going to be like.
No.
For context, this ad is going to mention someone named Kim Reynolds. She's the governor of Iowa.
Okay.
First state where the Republicans are having their primary, which is a caucus, of course, is in Iowa. So keep that in mind.
Where DeSantis is polling behind, right?
Well, he's polling behind Trump, certainly.
Okay.
And there was just
South Carolina.
We're going to talk about DeSantis a lot this episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But he's struggling in the polls a little bit. But we'll get to that a little bit later on. But I want to start with this ad.
Okay.
A little ad series. And I think we can just get right into it.
Let's go.
Governor Kim Reynolds is a conservative champion. She signed the heartbeat bill and stands up for Iowans every day. So why is Donald Trump attacking her?
I opened up the governor position for Kim Reynolds, in which she fell behind. I endorsed her, did big rallies, and she won. Now she wants to remain neutral. I don't invite her to events.
Trump should fight Democrats, not Republicans. What happened to Donald Trump? Never Back Down is responsible for the content of this advertising.
That's where it ends. Did you notice anything there about Donald Trump's voice?
No way. Did they make it up?
It's AI.
No.
It was an AI voiceover from Donald Trump.
I thought it sounded off, but I was like, I don't know if that's how phone calls are.
That was a Ron DeSantis Super PAC ad, the Never Back Down PAC, and it was an AI voice of Donald Trump. He did post those words on the Truth Social.
Oh, okay.
So he put them into the world, I suppose.
Yeah, like it's something he said.
But it is intentionally deceptive to put that into an AI voice to make it sound like Donald Trump was like revealed or disclosed to have said this on some kind of phone call or interview in secret or something like that. Like I don't really know. That's what seems crazy.
I don't know. It feels like a breach of like ethics.
Yeah.
Ethics and integrity, all those things. I thought it was wild that they were hyper focusing on Trump saying that she's not invited to events anymore. I don't invite her to fun things anymore.
Yeah, I also love this, right? Because like beyond the AI thing. What the ad is trying to do is get you to focus on how Donald Trump doesn't like your governor if you're an Iowa voter that's going to be participating in the Republican caucuses there. But what Republican voter that's in favor of Trump is going to be like, oh, he's not loyal to his allies?
Yeah.
He abandons
anything,
people?
It's, she wasn't loyal to him.
Yeah.
Like, they added the necessary context for you to understand that Trump endorsed her and now she's not endorsing him. Mm-hmm. So what's going on there? Also, the beat in the background is crazy.
Yeah, kind of dropped hard.
Who is running these ads? Who is doing all this?
I think it's funny because regardless of Kim Reynolds' personal popularity in her home state, who's going to look at this ad and be like, oh, I'm voting for DeSantis now? By the way, didn't even say DeSantis' name. Didn't. And this is my problem with like all of the Republican candidates that aren't Donald Trump right now. None of them are making an argument for themselves while contrasting themselves to Trump. Yeah. Not even Chris Christie's doing this. He's directly attacking Trump, but he's not saying like, oh, you should vote for me because of X, Y, and Z, and Trump is bad because of X, Y, and Z. But this kind of ad is saying, okay, he's not loyal to his the people that he put into power, quote unquote. So what?
But she's not loyal to him. Like the internal consistency isn't even there with the ad.
Yeah.
I don't understand what him and his entire team are thinking. It's probably hard for them to think considering it's just a fucking revolving door over there at his campaign staff. But like, goddamn, he can't like conjure up a modicum of charisma in anything. Any of the things that he does, it's insane. He's such a devoid of it.
Yeah, and this isn't even Ron DeSantis is doing. Like, this is his super PAC that makes ads for him, right? Like, technically, in the law, he's not supposed to have contact with them, quote unquote. But this is the people that support him making an ad, and they didn't even make an argument for him. Like, I get it. You only have 30 seconds to air a lot of these ads, or it's going to cost more and more money. But at least say, Donald Trump, not loyal to Kim Reynolds, use your fucking AI voice or whatever. And then say Ron DeSantis is loyal to his allies, and he protects his allies, or something like that.
Something that is a positive spin for him.
If you're going to use the AI voice, make Trump say something worse, right? like Trump has tons of tweets, tons of truths that he's posted that are much worse, much funnier, much more embarrassing that they could have posted, that they could have put into an AI voice, but they use the one about loyalty.
Like, you're already there. Yeah. Just go the extra mile. Also, who cares about Trump and loyalty? Yeah. This is something that Democrats try to hit him on all the time, and it doesn't work.
Because Trump gets away with whatever he wants.
And he's kind of sick.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was a fun entry into the ad series. Quite a crazy one.
I can't believe they just didn't go all the way with it. Like, if you're already going so far to just dig up Truth Social and use the AI voice, just go all the way.
Yeah. We got the Pudding Finger ones a while ago, the Real Women of Politics koozies. That one was fun. And I thought they would all be that kind of flavor, like kind of just increasingly more crazy and bizarre. But I like how we're getting a broad selection of themes.
Yeah, I like
this is just like faking and deceiving, faking out and deceiving voters with an AI voice, which is something that Ron DeSantis and his team has done before with the AI images of Trump hanging out with Fauci.
Oh yeah,
that he produced fake images to deceive voters.
Such a
So
common
cool.
theme when it comes to conservatives. I remember the one time when Trump. I think there was something where Trump had to go to court, and one of the judges for some prominent conservative in court, Fox News showed a picture of I think the judge's face photoshopped with Ghislaine Maxwell. You remember
nice.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they love doing that. They love
Yeah.
just putting up fake images.
Yeah, it's just and DeSantis' team and his pack is like the only one doing this. Now, I haven't seen anyone else do something like this. Trump's team hasn't even done something like this. It's just DeSantis, like, again, intentionally deceiving voters.
I don't
Because like the images look real enough and the voice sounds real enough to deceive people that aren't tech savvy.
Yeah.
They don't know about all the AI stuff that's going on. And I guarantee you that probably older voters, which is the Republican base, are getting deceived by this kind of stuff, especially in Iowa. I can guarantee it's happening. It's an intentional deception, and but again, beyond the ethics here, I don't even think it's appealing to anybody.
No,
broadly.
it's like they're hitting all the bases. They hit homophobia a couple weeks ago. I guess
of course.
They're hitting conservative women, and now they're hitting just bland.
Yeah,
Just nothing.
by lying. So cool. Not even lying in a fun way. Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. We've got a loaded show for you today.
Yes, we
Lots
do.
of election news to talk about.
Oh yeah, lots of Ron to talk about.
Lots of
Little
Ron DeSantis.
Ron DeSanctimonious. Ron sucks.
We got some cock news
Cock
later on in
news.
this episode, of course. Some fun cock news out of Congress. You all can probably predict what we're talking about.
New cock pictures just dropped.
But before we get into this episode, I'm going to remind you all, go buy some Head in the Office merch.
Please.
Fun for the whole family. You got all kinds of different sizes.
All kinds of
Buy it
different
as a
sizes.
gift for your brother, your sister, family member,
Colors,
friend even.
Unisex fit.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Get a dad cap. Get some stickers. Decorate your water bottle. Put us on your laptop.
It's a good present if someone's got a birthday in the summer, or just you want to enjoy the summertime in a nice short sleeve T-shirt from Head in the Office. You can do that.
my
We got light colors. We
goodness.
got dark colors.
Come on.
You got broad selection, or you need to protect your pretty little eyes with a hat. You can do that too.
You can do, oh my goodness.
We got everything for you.
Such
over at Head in
beautiful
the Office.
eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, headintheoffice.com. Get yourself some merch while supplies last. But if you want to support the show in other ways, of course, Patreon, there for you. Early access to everything we do. Patreon.com/headintheofficepod. You can also follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us, leave a comment, smash that thumbs up button.
Exactly.
Tell us how your day is in the comments. I really want to know.
If you want to help out the show in a big way without having to fork over any dough, you could always leave a 5-star review on Apple.
You could
just
definitely
like
do that.
This wonderful person over here,
One and only.
K 285085, with my new obsession. I came for Jeremy's voice, but stayed for the hilarious and informative political discussion.
Many such cases.
Exactly. I had seen your clips on TikTok and finally decided to give the full show a listen, and I was hooked. I listened to the show for 9 hours straight and couldn't get enough. You guys are awesome. I hope this podcast never ends. Model
crazy.
listener right there.
Model listener.
Truly model listener.
9 hours straight of Head in the Office. That's some dedication.
A work day, really.
it's for the love of the game.
I'm saying.
Thank you for leaving that review. If any of you want your 5-star review read, go and leave it on Apple. Or if you don't have access to Apple Podcasts,
Say you live in Canada or something.
or we can't listen to them because you're in some country that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Go ahead and send it to us on Instagram. Other than that, though, I think it's time to get into the news.
Time to get into all the election news.
We got a lot to
all the
talk
Ron
about.
DeSantis dirt.
Last week, Gage, at the end of the episode, alluded to a Ron DeSantis CNN exclusive thing that was happening. We said, the news cycle was screwing us over again. We weren't going to be able to hit on the big Ron DeSantis news. It was super mid.
Honestly,
and
it did us a
nobody talked
favor.
about it.
Really?
Yeah, it just was a complete waste of time. I expected one of those CNN town halls, but I guess Ron DeSantis is just too much of a coward to do one of those.
Just an interview. Just a sit down.
They did one for Trump. They did one for Nikki Haley. They would have done one for him.
Yeah.
Like he's the one in second for right now, at least in most polls. They would have done one for him, and I guess he was just too much of a coward to do it, because it was just like a 20-minute exclusive, not even 20-minute, like 15-minute exclusive, where some softball questions were thrown at him that didn't reveal anything.
Jake Tapper couldn't have been more passive in the interview. He would ask a question that like seemed interesting, and then Ron DeSantis would just completely sidestep it and say something else. Like, he talks about like a lot of wokeness in the military.
Yeah.
Jake Tapper started
That was like the first
him.
5 minutes.
Yeah, he started pressing him on that. And then Ron DeSantis said something along the lines of, well, Jake is like, what do you think of this? Like, where is the wokeness in the military? These people say it's like the 9th biggest issue. And he's like, well, a lot of people define wokeness in different ways. I've actually defined it, but
Nobody else can.
Nobody else can. It's a really hard thing to nail down. But yeah, there's just a lot of woke people in the military, and the military needs to get back to the martial rules that made it a unique organization.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
What does any of that mean? One, you can't give away the game like Trump can give away the game. You can't come out here and say that nobody can pin down wokeness, because you're going to get shit on by us. Obviously, Trump can do that because it's way funnier than he does. We're still going to shit on him, but most people won't. So that's one thing where you're kind of fucking up the messaging there. And then another instance where I thought it was just weird is Tapper asked him about why he wants to ban trans people in the military, and DeSantis responded by saying, military culture is unique, and I don't really like trans people in sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and he did the thing where it's like, oh, well, we can't change all of society to accommodate for this 1% of the population.
He said, quote, we can't flip society upside down just to accommodate 1% of people.
And it's like, what is, you need to ask, like, of course, not flipping the world upside down, but what does accommodating for trans people even look like? Like, in terms of what you need in the military, it's just providing a different type of healthcare. Yeah. If we can provide men with erectile dysfunction with Viagra pills through the military, with healthcare plans in the military, I see no reason why we can't provide gender-affirming care, or just provide for the needs of trans people that are serving the country, by the way. It's just Ron DeSantis hating trans people, of course.
Especially because he just explicitly just wouldn't answer the question.
Yeah.
It's just saying, well, they shouldn't be in sports, so tough.
Yeah.
Tough for you. And Tapper did not follow up. He did not care whatsoever to press him back for it. And it's like, when that's the dynamic that's going on here, the interview is just going to be nothing.
Yeah. And it's like, it was low-key worse than one of the town halls, because at least with the town hall that Jake Tapper did with Nikki Haley, it was a little bit more pushback than we got. Jake Tapper, I guess, I don't know, like, why didn't he push back more? Like, you have DeSantis in the hot seat.
And it's like, you're CNN.
Yeah.
You think your audience is really going to be like, I think you pushed Ron DeSantis really hard there. I think you went a little too, I think you were a little uncharitable to Ron DeSantis.
Or is it what's going to happen? DeSantis is going to be like, yeah, I don't want to come back again. Yeah. Like, oh, well,
or he's never going to come back because he's not going to win. Like, he's not going to win the primary, so you're not going to have to worry about it. Just get the content you need now.
He already wasn't participating in interviews. So, like, this is the first one he's done with any major news network that isn't explicitly on his side. So why not?
And it's like, oh no, what if he walks out of the interview? Publish it.
Yeah.
Run stories about milk how Ron DeSantis couldn't handle CNN and Jake Tapper's questions.
I bet that would get your ratings up a little bit.
It would, a tiny bit. I know you need it. I know you need it.
Other things that Ron DeSantis said I thought was fun. He kept calling the Vietnam War the Vietnam conflict.
That's a good one.
I don't know what purpose this serves. Downplaying the severity of Vietnam. We were there for 20 years.
Why?
What's the point, right?
Who talks about Vietnam anymore?
Yeah, the Vietnam conflict. We didn't lose, by the way.
Who talks about that conflict? Maybe it's so that he can say we never lost a war.
Yeah. Tapper also couldn't get Ron DeSantis he couldn't nail down Ron DeSantis on a 6-week abortion ban. DeSantis wouldn't say yes or no nationally, I mean. But I mean, if we apply the transitive property, he did one in Florida, I would assume he would do one nationwide. So he just wouldn't answer the question, though, which is the same thing with all the Republican candidates right now. So
especially they all. That's why the ad we watched in the beginning I thought was a little weird, how they hammered down the abortion thing. But I guess that's fine because that's for Republican primary voters, so they're gonna want to see that. But they're not going to answer the question. They know it's bad for them. It's a toxic thing.
Yeah. Anyway, the DeSantis CNN interview, kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, it sucked.
Not even necessary to watch.
But
it wasn't as big as I thought it would be.
But in I guess other Ron DeSantis news, in a press conference on Friday, he doubled down on an assertion by the Florida State Department of Education's new middle school curriculum that will teach kids that, quote, slavery developed skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
Holy shit, dog.
So that's good. In his double down crazy. At a press conference, he said, Little Rhonda said, quote, "They're probably going to show that some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life."
Yeah, you were just compelled to labor. You were often compelled to breed and produce children to keep my plantation alive. You had no real choice, no political enfranchisement, of course, no freedom. Of course, you were owned by somebody else, but
subjected to brutal conditions.
You learned how to be a blacksmith. So slavery was good.
Yeah, so that's fun.
Don't clip that out of context.
Neon Tari, I'm talking about you. So that's great that Ron DeSantis is just getting up and talking out of his ass.
Explicitly white supremacist talking point, by the way.
Oh,
I want to be clear about that. The idea that slavery was in any way good for black people in America is an insane talking point that only goes to whitewash history and make it seem as though white slave owners weren't as bad as they really were.
Because it's like what he's doing here is he's reducing the uniquely evil chattel slavery down to like trade school.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, really hard 4 years.
Like, what if we said, oh yeah, the Holocaust was good for survivors because it taught them to face adversity?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Nobody does this for any other adversity that has ever happened in history.
Right.
It's only right-wingers when it comes to slavery because they don't want to wrestle with the idea that maybe black people today are oppressed. Maybe there are still some, through lines that lead to the conditions that we see today. It's the only event that people do that for, and I don't understand. And I also don't understand who this type of messaging is even for.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the normal ahistorical, abhorrent stuff that Ron DeSantis and his Department of Education have been doing when it comes to African American history is just changing curriculums to say that you can't say white people were explicitly like bad.
Yeah.
And you can't say that white people were the ones that were oppressing black people. You can't highlight the racial dichotomy there.
I feel like we always knew it was going to get to this point.
Yeah.
They started off much like the Don't Say Gay bill by saying, oh, well, this is only so children don't feel bad or they aren't being indoctrinated to think a certain way. And now they're taking it a step further and saying, oh, well, actually, maybe slavery was good. Or in the Don't Say Gay case, maybe kids shouldn't be taught anything about gay people, trans people, etc. until after they graduated from high school. Right. It's all of this. It's this slow bleeding of the education system or the slow shifting of the education system in Republican states to favor the conservative ideology, which education by its very nature doesn't favor because conservative ideologies are nonsense, right? The more educated someone gets, we have good sociological data on this, the more educated you are, the more likely you are to be liberal or left-leaning, and that is a existential threat to conservative ideologies.
Oh, absolutely. But everything else that they've done kind of makes sense when I look at the landscape of like the culture war and stuff. It makes sense for conservatives to be up in arms with their about like, oh, they're telling you that white people are bad when they teach about slavery. I could see the through line there, still very far off. Still like we shouldn't live in a society where people think like this, but I can get it. But to say that slavery wasn't totally evil and not get laughed off the stage is nuts.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is happening in Florida, so
feels like such an escalation.
And I think it is, but it's happening in Florida, a state where Republicans can do whatever they want because they have a supermajority. Ron DeSantis gets whatever bill he wants to his desk. I think what we're seeing here is a side of Republican politics in 2023 that is just unequivocally evil, right?
Yeah.
They sometimes still do their faux populism where it's about protecting the children or it's about helping, middle-class Americans that are losing their jobs because of immigrants or whatever. But I think this is one of those things where they're just saying like, oh yeah, slavery was good sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but again, this is where the underlying ideology of conservatism always wanted to go this way. I think we're finally just seeing it come to the forefront.
So fucking
Which is
nuts.
great. It's insane, right?
Fragile white people have no stock in this argument.
Yeah.
They have stock, I guess. It's fake, it's not real, it's bullshit. But I can see why they think they have stock in thinking that schools are teaching people white people are bad. They have no stock in defending a statement such as slavery was not totally evil. Slavery was kind of good.
Right.
It's ridiculous. And the Florida Department of Education, to defend themselves, they released a list of 16 different black people that they say used skills they learned during their time as enslaved people to become successful. So per the Tampa Bay Times, one of the people the state listed was Booker T. Washington. Washington, if you don't know, was an educator, went on to found Tuskegee University, who was enslaved until he was freed at 9 years old. Now tell me how an enslaved 9-year-old could have learned the skills necessary to become a successful educator.
It's fucking insane.
Tell me that you learned that from 0 to 9 and not after you left slavery.
It is an insane perversion of anything about Booker T. Washington's life to use him as justification for teaching people that slavery taught people important skills. There's no chance in hell that he would ever agree with anything Ron DeSantis ever has to say about this issue. That is crazy.
But it gets even worse because like Booker T. Washington, bigger name, huge name, right? But another person the Department of Education lists and who Little Rhonda referenced was Louis Latinier, someone who the department claims was a blacksmith born into slavery in 1848 and freed in 1842. Now, if you're hearing those dates and you're connecting the dots, you already should be saying that sounds a little weird because he would have been enslaved for the first 4 years of his life.
Yeah.
But again, per Tampa Bay Times, quote, a museum dedicated to Latimer states that he was born to two self-liberated, formerly enslaved parents. Self-educated, he worked as an inventor, participating in the development of the telephone and incandescent lighting, among other inventions. He never even was enslaved.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, like
they already tried to claim that he learned about being a blacksmith when he was 4 years old. And then they were just wrong in claiming he was ever enslaved.
Yeah.
And they published that.
Doesn't this line of thinking justify like any horrific act you do to any group of people ever?
Absolutely.
Because you could just say like, oh, well, they learned important skills down the line, even if what I did to them had nothing to do with them learning important skills, even if what I did was absolutely horrible and incomprehensibly evil.
Yeah.
Like, this justifies any act against any group. And I don't think it's a mistake, by the way, that I think Florida was one of the states that was the last to get rid of slaves and was one of the hardest fighting states during the Civil War. And they're now also the state leading the way, saying slavery actually wasn't that bad. There's actually some good things we can take out of slavery. You know, there's both sides to everything.
You guys, come on. Nothing is totally evil. We can look for silver linings.
Yeah.
Guys, real life, it's not black and white morality. Right. Things are gray often.
That's crazy, man.
So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. It's a really good look for your presidential campaign to get out there defending slavery.
Well, and the thing is, like, no Republican's going to call him on this, right? Because they agree.
But like,
fundamentally.
If I feel like if this got out, like, what moderate is going to agree with this? And you're going to need some of them if you want to win a general election for the president.
Yeah. And again, like, I can't express enough. This is blatantly white supremacist language and rhetoric. Like, the only reason you would ever try to reframe slavery to look as though it was even slightly beneficial, had some kind of silver lining, is to say that, oh, well, that kind of racial hierarchy, that racial system that we had set up before wasn't all bad, and therefore was justified to some extent, or shouldn't be viewed with as much disdain as it is today. It is blatantly white supremacist to try to reframe it in any way. It's a form of denialism, right? Yeah. Like, again, if you applied this kind of logic to the Holocaust, it would be a sort of historical revisionism. And
you'd be laughed out of the room.
Yeah, you would correctly be laughed out of the room and called a Holocaust denier.
You would be shamed, as you should be for this take.
Yeah.
And it just takes me back to, like, I don't want to do the Trump 2016 thing where it's like, oh, Trump never had a chance to win. But in 2020, when Trump lost, he said crazy things, but the GOP wasn't this far right with their rhetoric back in 2020.
Worse, certainly.
It's gotten so much worse. So I just have to wonder, like, what the fuck are they thinking?
Yeah. But I think that this is always where conservative ideologies lead.
Yeah.
Back to rigid hierarchies based off immutable characteristics that you can't change. We're seeing it with trans people and gender norms specifically. We've seen it with race for basically as long as Republican Party has been conservative.
Yeah.
We've seen them try to reestablish race hierarchies through any way that they can, but their language has become a lot more explicit.
Look,
of course.
It's also just conservatism being reactionary. You can't keep reacting to the same things. You're gonna have to keep pushing the envelope into more and more far-right territory, and you're going to have to just start reaching back into history to find things to react to.
You got to point out how Republicans, specifically in Florida, are always the ones like, Democrats did slavery. And Republicans here are the ones saying, actually, slavery wasn't that bad. Come on!
Actually, Lincoln was a Republican. You'd agree with me. The party of Lincoln, Reagan, and Trump, baby. Come on.
God, the cognitive dissonance. How can you hold both beliefs? Like, because you remember back when there was a bill, I don't think it ever passed, but there was some bill to make it so anybody who's a part of a party in Florida that previously supported history can't run.
Yeah.
There was a bill that we covered a long time ago, basically would have disqualified all Democratic candidates from ever running in Florida again. But they want to do that. They want to do this kind of revisionism. Well, it's not really revisionism, but it's a framing of how slavery was to make themselves seem seem fine in the modern day to not link themselves with racist ideologies. But now they want to also say at the same time, after saying Democrats bad because they did slavery, they also want to say slavery taught them important skills, though.
Slavery was good.
So which is it?
Radical abolitionist John Brown was still bad, but like slavery sometimes, hear me out.
God, it's so crazy.
It's great.
How can you hold both beliefs? How do they not just combust immediately?
I don't know, dude. There's got to be nothing going on in there.
God, this is like fascists. Like, I mean, awful, obviously. You know, history's villains, the worst kind of person you can be politically. But the way they can just shapeshift and be chameleons, like take on any belief if it's beneficial for their political agenda, is crazy to me.
It's
like I can't do it. You know what I'm saying?
I can't fathom. Like I couldn't fathom when I was reading that, when I was writing the show notes. Like, what is going on?
Imagine just having no convictions at all, except being racist.
Just lying about people who were enslaved. Just lying about historical figures like Booker T. Washington.
I can't imagine like being taught that in school. Like, how is that gonna adjust how you view history? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like imagine you're growing up, especially like black kids going through the Florida education system, and you're taught like you learn about slavery, how awful it was. You see the pictures, I guess the paintings, and you learn about the Civil War, maybe.
Maybe.
And then your teacher at the same time says like, well, yeah, but it taught them important skills, so it wasn't all bad. Like, that's a weird framing that I can't even fathom how that would have changed my thinking about this whole situation. Like, awful.
How does a child not even sit there and think, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, yeah, some people, if you look at it through a certain lens, if you twist it like a kaleidoscope, it's like a jobs program.
Oh, shit. Well, they were housed, fed. Come on now.
Yeah, he said they had free housing. They had all these things.
I wouldn't be surprised
they were paid for.
If next year Ron DeSantis is like, well, in Florida, we're going to start teaching that they had universal health care. Like that.
The South really the South was really the most progressive society that we've had.
It's good and also bad, though.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, naturally. But slavery, horrible. But
God, that's so crazy. Awful shit Ron DeSantis is doing.
I can't believe it. This dude blows my mind every day. Floors me. Absolutely floors me. I feel like I'm getting hit with a truck. I feel like every week he says something wild.
Actually evil. Yeah.
Actually, but he can't spare any bit of charisma. Like, he can't take that and put the skill points. He can't rearrange them a little bit.
He needs a respec badly.
He needs a respec. He needs to go see fucking Renala. And a respec from being awful into a little bit of charisma so he can actually do these media appearances if he wants a chance.
Yeah. Well, moving on. We got to talk a bit more about the election.
A little bit more about hard cash money, things that I care about.
We got to talk about some bans, actually. We got some more election news coming up. So Ron DeSantis, of course, we talked about last week, is suffering a little bit of campaign issues. He's got lots of money, and we're about to talk about the money for all other candidates because we got numbers for that as well.
That's so good.
But he was having some staffing issues. We talked about that last week. Still got a lot of money on hand. Ron DeSantis was actually reported being the number one earner of this quarter, the last few months, at $20 million. But of course, he's spending a lot of that money. A lot of that money is from large donors, and he how many did he fire? He had like 92 on staff and fired
12, 6 or 12 people that he fired.
Sending a lot of them over to the super PAC, which, as we've already covered on this episode, doesn't do a very good job at doing what they're supposed to do. So Ron DeSantis seems to be the number one earner, at least in this quarter right now. Biden, though, $19 million.
Right on his tails.
But at the same time, you got to remember that Biden's got the entire DNC, the Democratic National Committee, at his back, and they've got tens of millions of dollars they've already raised and they're spending on his behalf. So he's got a lot loaded up. Biden's not doing bad at all.
And I'd also imagine that spending for Biden isn't really going to be front loaded since, let's be real, nobody's going to primary him.
RFK, bro.
Fuck, you're right. You're right. I forget. RFK, he's shooting up there. He's got good ideas.
Majority.
He's got a lot of good ideas going on. But nobody's realistically going to primary Biden, so they don't need to spend money right now. They can save it for the next quarter. They can save it for the general.
Yeah, and Biden might have some money left over, probably a small amount from the presidential election in 2020. Yeah. He did raise over $1 billion, which is just an insane amount of money on his own to raise and spend. But he's got a lot of funding at his back, as we would expect from an incumbent. Trump has brought in $17 million this quarter, $14 million of which was donors, giving him less than $200.
So regular people.
Yeah. And according to Politico, DeSantis raised only $2.8 million from those that same group of donors, meaning DeSantis is relying a lot on large donors and is struggling to get smaller donors. So not a good sign.
Is relying so hard on like the institutional conservatives, like your like Mitch McConnell's, your Heritage Foundation people. He just doesn't have the support of actual people who are going to go out and vote. The vast majority of people are for Donald Trump.
There's a lot of reports of those kind of high-tier donors who max out their donations to Ron DeSantis, either emailing or talking to reporters or talking to people inside the Republican establishment about how they're getting very nervous about Ron DeSantis' chances because, they're giving a lot of money to him. Once you give money to some candidates as one, the high-tier donor, you may be viewed by other candidates with some disdain because, you're giving to my competition, that kind of thing. So people are getting a little bit nervous about the DeSantis campaign. And him sending a bunch of staffing over to the super PAC not only is bad because the super PAC clearly sucks at producing content, but also is bad because there's not you're not supposed to legally have control from the campaign committee over the super PAC. So
they're not supposed to interact.
There's a lot of disconnection, and as we can see, the disconnection already isn't very helpful. But the super PAC can raise an infinite amount of money because you can take in millions and millions of dollars from people like the Koch brothers. So that's one benefit.
Also, I feel like Trump is just going to hammer home this point.
Yeah.
If he's smart, which I feel like usually he's good at hitting points like this, he's just going to rail out how nobody supports him. He's being backed by the swamp.
Yeah.
It's already built into everything he campaigned on in 2016 and 2020.
Well, and having this many small donors now, or for Donald Trump, it's like most of his money that he's raised for this quarter has been from those small donors. Those people typically or might give again in the general election, and it usually means that you're pulling from the general population rather than a small subset of donors that once they max out, they can't pay you again.
Yeah.
So it's a good sign for Trump and not a good sign for DeSantis generally.
They're going to be giving consistently. Yeah. They're going to be giving however much Trump promised that he was going to pay to buy their dinner and then didn't.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, no, you're right, Trump. I'll give it to you instead. You were supposed to give it to me, but I'll give it back to you.
Yeah, for sure. Doug Burgum. Did we ever talk about him?
I don't think so. I don't know who he is.
He's a billionaire.
Nice.
Governor of North Dakota, running for president. He's reported $11.8 million this quarter. $10.3 million of which was his own money.
That's it. Why not just go above and beyond and put yourself at number one?
Yeah.
If you're already giving, what is that, 90-some% of your campaign to yourself, why not go all the way?
Yeah. We got a similar story with Vivek Ramaswamy. He reported $7.7 million, with $5 million being from himself.
So cool.
And I think it's either Burgum or Vivek promised or committed to give themselves $100 million or something in total for their own campaign. So that's crazy.
Oh my God.
Just
it's
a smooth 100 million.
Who was the billionaire that did that in 2020?
Mike Blumenthal or something?
Bloomberg. Yeah, Bloomberg came in and dropped $500 million in the Democratic primary just to get
he was the
on.
highest spender. Yeah. He spended the most, or he spent the most.
And did he even do anything?
No, he got shit on by Elizabeth Warren. He got tore to pieces because he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think it's gonna work for Doug anyway.
Oh,
Vivek is another story because he's polling pretty high. He's in third in a lot of polls.
Really?
He might eclipse DeSantis at some point, which would be crazy.
So cool.
If we interestingly, RFK Jr., if we want to talk about the other Democrat that's running here, he's been receiving quite a bit of money. I think he had about $6 million this quarter, which is a decent amount. And most of his donations are from people who typically donate to Republicans.
Oh.
Can't say we should be surprised by that one, right?
Who would have thought?
And if we want to laugh at the losers here, both Mike Pence and Chris Christie have not broken $2 million this quarter, which is not a good sign. Not a good sign.
That's a great sign, considering that Mike Pence isn't polling high at all.
No.
But he's polling in 4th, 5th in some of these things.
Yeah.
He's 1 or 2 behind DeSantis.
And he has
in the
100% name recognition, right?
Yeah,
everyone knows Mike Pence.
Vice president.
Yeah.
He's in the same position Joe Biden was in.
Mm-hmm. He should be doing better for all intents and purposes. But they wanted to kill him, so he's probably not going to do too well. But I have an interesting strategies that 2 candidates have come up with that I think we should talk about.
Lay it on me.
I really liked reading about these. It's from Doug Burgum and Vivek Ramaswamy. So
the people who self-funded.
Yeah. So for context, and the 2 people that are insanely rich. Vivek's not a billionaire, of course, but
100 millionaire. Owned a tech company.
For context, though, this is from NPR. Quote: "To participate in the debates, candidates must raise at least 40,000 or must have at least 40,000 donors. They must also bring in donations from 200 or more donors in the same state." So those are the criteria, meaning you got to get 40,000 donors, right? Got to get lots of people to donate to you, individual
People have to
donors.
support you.
And you want donations from various states in the country.
Yeah.
Which is a big hurdle for a lot of the candidates that are smaller, even those that have a lot of money themselves, because you got to get those individual donors to get on the debate stage.
You have to appeal to, like, I don't know, the country
you gotta
to be able
viable,
to prove
right?
that you're electable.
Well, both Vivek and Burgum have come up with interesting solutions to this conundrum. Doug Burgum has said that for the first 50,000 donors to his campaign, any $1 donation will get you a $20 gift card in return.
Hold on a minute.
He himself is a billionaire, of course, so he can afford all of this, but it is legally dubious. It seems like a bribe.
How many people you think have donated so far?
I don't know, but we could get.
You think I could be in that for $19?
Get a free 19? Come on.
That's an immaculate return on investment.
Yeah.
If I do say so myself.
In a similar vein.
That's a sweet deal.
In a similar vein, though, Vivek promised 10% commission for anyone who can fundraise for his campaign.
What does that mean?
I think you can become a fundraiser by donating, and then you get commission on other people you get to fundraise. This seems like an MLM.
Oh.
It seems like a literal Ponzi scheme.
He's running his campaign like LuLaRoe or Herbalife.
Yeah. I don't really know what's going on here. Apparently the FEC signed off on this, Federal Election Commission.
There's no way.
But the FEC, what do they do? You know what I'm saying?
You could get commission? 10%?
That's a free job right there.
That's a good bit of commission.
I thought those were pretty funny stories.
There's no way that should be legal.
Yeah, no.
Like you should not be able to bribe voters to donate to
right,
you.
because what this means is, if this is allowed, that in future debates, if the criteria is similar, then you can just basically bribe people to get on debate stages. And I think Vivek's already been confirmed to make it on. He's hit the threshold. I think he got 20,000 more donors than he needed, so he's going to be on the debate stage in August.
Oh, that's so good.
I don't think Burgum's hit it. I don't think Pence or Chris Christie's hit it. I don't know about Tim Scott or Nikki Haley. They might have already. They had pretty average numbers.
And Nikki Haley wouldn't surprise me if she hit it. But this guy, whatever his name is, I didn't even know who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does he even want to do spending all of this money?
I don't know.
Like, is he trying to get on and pull people further right?
You were a governor of a state. You've got you're a billionaire. You won. Just go home.
Chill.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who you are either.
You don't got to. You know what I mean?
You not only have the luxury of being one of the most powerful people in the country, but you also have the luxury of being one of the richest people in the country. And you have the luxury that when you have those two things, nobody knows who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
You can just chill. You can coast. You can write those little laws that only benefit you and hurt your constituents and live in a really big house.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
And nobody ever had to know.
Nobody
And now
would
we're
have known.
talking about you on a nationally syndicated podcast.
On the number one
and now
geopolitics
everyone
podcast.
knows who you are.
Known worldwide.
Yeah, so I don't know if this will land him in elections prison or something. Probably not, because no laws are ever enforced around elections, apparently. But yeah, that's we'll see if it works out for him and Vivek.
I hope so.
Vivek's already on the debate stage, though.
I'd like to see him on the debate stage now.
August 23rd. I'm looking forward to
August
it.
23rd. That's in exactly a month from now.
Yeah, a month from today.
Oh my
month from
God.
recording.
Come on, that's
pretty exciting, right?
That's good.
But I'm still thinking Trump's probably not going to show up. I'm hoping.
Fingers crossed.
I don't know if
maybe he'll be in court.
Yeah. Well, he might be in court.
He might have to show up to court.
But yeah, we got debates coming up soon, and we'll see if these hooligans who might be breaking the law get on. So
I hope so, dude.
Before we end out election news today, though, we got to head over to Ohio. This is a story that was notified to us by a listener, actually. Something that kind of flew under the radar for me, and I think a lot of people, because it seems pretty explicitly meant to be subversive and trick people.
Okay.
Based on what I know about it. So there's a special election coming up in Ohio. Again, shout out to all of our Ohio listeners. We have a few of those. On August 8th, this is the election day, Ohioans are going to vote on a ballot proposal that does very simple things. First thing it does, it raises the vote threshold for constitutional amendments on ballot measures to pass from 50% to 60%. Okay. And it requires potential ballot measures that are just petitions, that start off as petitions, to receive signatures from voters in every county, all 88, versus the current rule that only requires from half of the counties to get onto the ballot. Basically, all this does is to make it harder for ballot measures to pass, and it makes it harder for ballot measures to ever get on the ballot in the first place.
Yeah.
It makes it citizen petitions a lot weaker than they are right now.
Which is like ballot measures are the most direct democracy that we have.
Exactly, right.
So this is just less democracy.
A vote yes on this would mean you're in favor of raising the vote threshold percentage, which would make it, again, harder for citizens to pass things, and just make it harder to initiate citizen constitutional constitutional amendments in general. I don't know if other states have a 60% plus rule. In Michigan, we don't, and I'm glad that we don't. But that sucks ass. Like, that's really bad.
It's stupid. And then every county, you got to travel the whole state. You got to go on tour.
Yeah.
To be able to get this ballot measure in. I know, like, most people live in, like, probably, like, 2 counties, but you got to go to all of them.
Yeah.
Every single one.
You got to go to all of them. It just makes it harder on citizen initiatives to get those done. But the reason I said this was a little bit subversive, and I think meant to make things worse in Ohio in general, is because that's not where this ends.
Oh.
The story continues.
Really?
This August vote's gotten tied up in a lot of abortion discourse as well, for a pretty good reason, because there's another ballot measure aimed at November that would enshrine abortion rights into the state constitution. And wouldn't you know, right-wing officials in Ohio want to make that measure less likely to pass. A lot of polls put abortion protection, support for abortion protection in Ohio above 50 but below 60.
No.
And so they want to pass this ballot measure to make it so abortion protections can't be cemented into the Ohio Constitution. It's pretty obviously for that purpose. And if you have any doubt, I have a quote
crazy.
here.
Okay.
I have a quote here from WKYC News. It said, quote, Republican Secretary of State Frank LaRose admitted last month, quote, this is 100% about keeping a radical pro-abortion amendment out of our Constitution. So if you had any doubts, that pretty much clears it up.
Oh my God, dog.
Yeah.
Why can't we do this?
That's what I'm saying.
Like this is why what Tim Evers did in Wisconsin Tony Evers is cool and sick.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we get out there and do stuff like this, but for good things? Because they can go out there and make radical changes, take democracy away from you, so that it's easier to take more rights away from you, so that it's like doubly easier to take more rights away. Because already when you take away democracy, it's easier to take away rights. But now they're taking away democracy to also explicitly and implicitly take away rights. Crazy.
What makes this even more fucked, well, of course, there's like the anti-democratic sentiment, which is like the entire point of all of this, is to just make it so Republicans can control more and more of your life. But the thing that really gets me about this is I think, and I'm not sure on the details on this, I think it was Ohio. I think it was either 2022 or 2021. An amendment passed that said no more ballot measures on August elections. And they're doing this on an August election to usurp the abortion protection amendment that will pass if the 50% remains in place for the November election. It is like, and this was a thing that was passed recently, right? Like it's purely to prevent, as stated by the Republican Secretary of State, to prevent women from having constitutionally protected access to abortions in the state of Ohio. That's all it is. It's just to be evil.
Is it gonna work? I feel like this one could work because you're not voting on abortion when you're voting on this. You're voting on the ballot measures. And I feel like when you see it at first glance, it makes intuitive sense to say that, oh, yeah, a ballot measure should have to get support from everyone in every county. And constitutional amendments, those should be hard to pass. Like, it's intuitively, it makes sense. But you think about it and you're like, well, actually, this hasn't really been a problem.
The people that are trying to make it so, I'm pretty sure the abortion amendment is going to get on the November election ballot. I'm pretty sure that's confirmed at this point. But I think the group behind it, and I can't remember the exact name of this group, but the group behind it is advocating against this ballot proposal right now. And I think if they're doing a good enough job, they'll be able to optically, narratively tie it to the abortion amendment and say, like, a vote yes on this would basically mean that abortion rights will not be secured in November. God, and so long as they're able to make that
tough
case.
Sell, though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but as long as they get out there and tell people to vote no, hopefully they'll be able to.
Hopefully they vote
successful.
no.
Yeah, but August 8th, if you're an Ohio voter, vote no on issue 1. Be pro-democracy, and then later on vote in favor of abortion rights.
Yes. Then you're like doubly pro-abortion rights.
Yeah. It is crazy the lengths that Republicans will go to make it so abortion rights just won't be secured. Right? We saw in many Republican states that had constitutional amendments to protect abortion go up in their elections last year. Super confusing wording on a lot of them. Sometimes a vote no meant to protect abortion rights. Sometimes a vote yes meant to protect abortion rights.
The confusing wording.
And in every single state that abortion was on the ballot, it won, right? Which is a good thing. And now in Ohio, we're seeing them add another layer of confusion, a whole separate vote that you got to go take just to make sure that abortion rights can be cemented.
It's a multi-step process.
Yeah. Just making it as confusing as possible.
I don't understand why they're going so hard on an issue that has proven time and time again to not be electable, for lack of a better word, to be optically bad, to be poison.
And well, that's the thing, right, is that Republicans know that anytime, basically in any state, if there's an amendment to protect abortion rights, it's going to pass, right?
Yeah.
They don't want that to happen because they hate women and they want you to die. So they got to find creative ways to make it so you do not have access to abortions and they can take your rights away. And this is how creative they're getting right now. Because, again, they can't win on this if it's just a ballot measure. Despite Republicans being able to win in the state, they can't win purely based on their policy ideas. So they got to do something like this. And I really hope they're not successful, but it is the most creative one that we've seen. I'll give them that.
I thought we were supposed to be the creative ones.
Yeah.
I thought we were supposed to be the creative, like, artistic ones, you know what I mean? But no, they routinely, conservatives just show us up when it comes to this.
And like, the thing that gets me is, doesn't this totally deconstruct the argument that it's a states' rights issue?
Yeah.
Like, you are purposefully making it so your state cannot make a decision as to what they want to do with abortion. Like, the voters of the state cannot decide if issue 1 passes on August 8th.
And I mean, that's what it's always been.
Yeah.
States' rights has always been, okay, we can't control the federal government, so we're going to make it so that we can control it. Small government is only as small as what they can guarantee they can control.
Exactly.
That's it. That's all it ever is.
Yeah.
That's all that.
So if you're in Ohio, vote no on issue 1, August 8th. Go to vote.org, get registered to vote.
You know what to do.
Figure out how you can vote absentee. Just make a plan. That's all I'm going to say. It's coming up pretty soon.
I think Snapchat has like a thing you can do. That may only have been for the midterms, but during the midterms, they had a thing you could do where it's like you pulled up a filter or scan something and you could see all of the information for like all the candidates. I don't know if they still have that. They might.
Either way, make sure you get out there and vote. And I do want to, before we move off of this topic, talk a little bit about the abortion amendment itself.
Yeah.
So as I said, it's coming up in November. It's basically guaranteed to be on the ballot. But what interests me more, of course, is the opposition.
Oh,
because that's who we like to cover.
Oh, yeah.
The opposition to the group, or the opposition group to the amendment is called the, quote, Protect Women Ohio, which I think is fun.
That is fun.
In their line of attack, can you guess what it is? See, they're opposing abortion. What do you think they're attacking?
They're opposing abortion. I think they're attacking women.
Trans people. The line of attack is trans people.
What? There's no way.
So, to be clear, the wording of the amendment itself is this, okay?
Men shouldn't get abortions. Neither should women.
Wait, that's kind of gas.
That's off the dome right there.
So here's the wording of the amendment. It says, quote, everyone has a right to make and carry out one's own reproductive decisions, including but not limited to decisions on contraception, fertility treatment, continuing one's own pregnancy, miscarriage care, and abortion. That's all of it, right? That's the whole thing. And the opposition group has, of course, naturally claimed that this means children can get, quote, sex change surgery without parents' knowledge or involvement.
That's a crazy stray to just throw out there. That's a crazy shot to just fire.
Yeah. Well, they argued that the wording not limited to means that children will be able to get sex change surgeries if this amendment passes. That's their argument.
Oh my God.
Which I think is super cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. In the same NBC article I was reading, there are basically no legal experts that ever say the text of the amendment could ever be interpreted to mean that. Specifically because amendments are usually amendments to constitutions are very specific.
Yeah.
They provide for very specific rights.
Hyper pedantic.
So I wouldn't think that this could ever be interpreted to mean, children can get sex change surgeries because it doesn't say that, obviously.
God, dude,
that's not the intent.
That's so transphobes love inserting themselves into things that don't pertain to them, and just making it about a group of people that they aren't involved in that they hate.
Yeah, to me, this is a really good argument for intersectionality, though.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Even
if you don't fully believe in the merits of intersectionality as a theoretical framework, just look at what the fascists are doing. They know intersectionality is real.
And they're using it to their advantage.
Yeah. Like an amendment wholly based on access to reproductive care is being interpreted to mean trans people get to exist, and they don't like that.
No.
I thought that was very funny. Of course, the purpose here isn't to make a cogent argument about the amendment. It's to scare people away from voting yes.
Oh, of course.
It's a stretch because it is a stretch, right?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's good.
Was pretty funny.
That's good. And I guess it's time to talk about new cock that just dropped.
Dick news.
Dick news. Mm-hmm. Welcome back to Dick News Hour, baby. Come on. Boom, 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 boom. Oh my God.
I think we actually we got to label this beyond parody
for sure
because this is a ridiculous news story.
Okay.
I was very happy that this happened though because as we predicted, it was coming. No pun intended.
Oh, some was coming.
This is gonna be a difficult section to get through. Okay, let me focus.
Okay.
So, the GOP obsession with fat dick,
is
at an all-time high. And if you know, you know. We're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course. The clip went viral a couple of days ago, but I wanna cover it in depth. I really want to get in there.
I really want to get in deep. You know what I'm saying?
So to set the scene, last week the House Oversight Committee held a hearing where 2 IRS agents gave testimony on how the DOJ was basically dragging their feet on prosecuting Hunter Biden on the tax fraud charges that we talked about a couple of episodes ago. Basically, Marjorie Taylor Greene, we'll get to her in a second. The idea is that they wanted to investigate. It was already a sham hearing. It already had nothing important to say.
Isn't it like they're trying to talk about, like, okay, the DOJ is clearly not going after Hunter Biden, even though we know he did these crimes and they're kind of dragging their feet. They don't really want to prosecute, but they should be.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay.
Is basically what this hearing was about. But Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to deviate from this a little bit. And she wanted to prove that Hunter Biden was violating the Mann Act, which is a law against human trafficking across state lines.
Okay.
That's what that regulates. And she also accused him of paying for a prostitute through his law firm's bank account and writing it off as a business expense, which is the coolest thing I've ever
sick.
heard.
Like what?
That's awesome. But seemingly frustrated and enamored in procedure, Marjorie Taylor Greene took it upon herself to have a poster board made of Hunter Biden's photos where he is naked, completely naked, and having sex with prostitutes. And she showed these photos to the congressional committee during a hearing. Now, these images, we can't show them. No. Get taken off of YouTube, taken off of TikTok, like immediately taken down if we show these photos. They had censor marks on them, but the censor marks are insufficient in covering up the act.
Like 1.5 inches wide and like 6 inches long.
Do the measurements, people. The censor marks are not enough for us to show them.
Censor marks weren't girthy enough, I can tell you.
But, I mean, that's basically where the story ends. She wanted to stick Hunter Biden on this issue, and she showed nudes of him. She did revenge porn in Congress.
I was just about to say, conservative like a significant portion of conservative, I guess, their media time has been cock. Just talking about Hunter's cock, talking about how Hunter does blow and fucks hookers.
Well, and that's what this was, right? There was images of Hunter Biden getting a blowjob. There's one of those. There was just an image. One of them was just the prostitute, which I thought was weird.
Did they censor like the women's faces at all?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was like, there's no way they're just like outing these.
Hunter
women.
Biden's face not censored.
Nice. I wouldn't put it past Marjorie Taylor Greene to just, I guess, out these women.
Yeah.
But it's already wild to just show those in Congress.
Yeah.
And then just be showing a bunch of naked women who had no idea what any of this is.
And the craziest part to me is Marjorie Taylor Greene says these are like pornographic images. She admits this. She says that Hunter Biden was like taking pictures, taking video. First of all, dude can't help but take pictures.
I'm saying.
Dude cannot help but record himself. He just is
doing anything.
Compelled to do it for some reason.
Holy shit.
But she herself says like Hunter Biden was recording porn. That's already a weird way to frame it. But if you believe that, why are you showing it to Congress?
He's doing porn. Look at it.
Yeah.
Look at it.
The original board that she pulled up was just evidence. It was some email of confirmation that he had purchased a ticket for the people in the pictures to like either fly overseas or to a different state or whatever for the purposes of sex. And it's like, okay, fine, whatever. Like he probably did it. Fine.
Okay, cool.
But then, she whips out the naked Hunter Biden cock photos, and those are in congressional archives forever now.
Like, did they need to be whipped out?
Yeah, I don't think so. It wasn't necessary.
He didn't need to whip it out. She didn't need to whip it out. Like, come on. There's 2 layers here. Like,
and some Democrat interjected and was like, Mr. Chair, do we need these photos to be shown right now? And then the chairman was like, well, they've been on the internet for a long time, so like I'll let it slide. It was a Republican chairman because it's in the House.
So you can just throw anything up.
But yeah, right. Like you can throw up anything that's on the internet now, just because it might be relevant to some investigation you're doing. But also, if they've been on the internet, widely available, you don't gotta show them in Congress. Everyone knows.
You could drop a link.
Everyone knows.
Maybe send a link in the group chat. Maybe you could reply all.
Yeah.
Anything but this, really. I can't imagine being that poor staffer who, one, you're already working for Marjorie Taylor Greene, so that's got to be crazy. But then she comes to you and she's like, oh, had a long day. Censor these cock photos.
Yeah, because someone had to do it, right?
Somebody had to get in there and put the censor bar
She
up.
walks up to your desk in your cramped office.
Yeah.
Slaps a flash drive on your desk. Says, censor these images. Don't do it liberally.
Censor these images as little as you possibly can.
Yeah. And then they do it. They prep the board. Oh, what's this for? Congressional hearing.
Everybody's gonna see this.
I like to think it was her idea to do this. Like she
I like
meant
to, I like to think that she did it.
Yeah, she's the one at the helm.
She did the censoring. She's obsessed with this man's cock.
You had to know that she looked at the photos, right?
I mean, she had to have. She had to have, right? Somebody
Uncensored.
had to have, and somebody had to get it to her. And I doubt she was like, send it to me censored.
Like they and they tweet about this kind of stuff all the time. Hunter
Yeah.
Biden being a crackhead, fucking hookers and stuff like that. They just be thinking about this man naked
Could
constantly.
you like FOIA that? Could you FOIA Marjorie Taylor Greene's communications about Hunter Biden's cock?
Oh, that'd be so
it can't
good.
be classified. Everybody's seen it.
The line of argument here, right, is like, so the reason that they claim they're so focused on this stuff is because Hunter Biden has had connections to various companies in Europe.
Yeah.
And the idea is that while Hunter Biden was at these companies, he gave these foreign companies access to Joe Biden for money, which would be like a sort of political corruption scheme. They haven't presented any evidence to this. There is evidence that he's gotten money from these companies for access, but no evidence that he's actually given them access to Joe Biden. My thought is that he probably was like, yeah, I'll show you to my dad if you give me this money. And then by the time they were like, hey, show us your dad, he was, high as hell.
He said no.
Snorting cocaine, fucking women.
He already
you know what I mean?
spent it.
Yeah, it's gone. He's like, the money's gone. I need more.
And even if he did, fuck, you bring evidence to the table, lock him up. I don't care.
Yeah, but exactly. To that end, you don't got to show the dick photos. You don't have to.
Like, were these on C-SPAN?
Yes.
No way.
Yeah, well, it's a congressional hearing. It's all on C-SPAN. It's all free, available to everybody, not age restricted. Everybody could have gone and watched it. Like it's crazy.
She's bringing a projector to the next hearing. She'll play the video. It's like fucking hentai
No way.
with the blurred out. Oh my god.
Oh jeez. I think this makes Marjorie Taylor Greene look insane. By the way,
It has to.
I don't think this makes her or the Republican Party look good in any way.
Because like I think this is funny, but like my parents who don't live on the internet like I do, what do they think? Like, what do they think? What do they hear this and think?
Like the average Republican voter probably like repeats the Hunter Biden laptop
Let me see
talking
that man's
point.
cock.
Yeah, well, I think they repeat the talking point like, oh, Hunter Biden's corrupt. You know what I mean? Like just as purely as a talking point, not something they care about. But this, to me, even nowadays in the Lord's year of 2023, seems like a step too far for
They're
average people.
Infatuated with it.
Yeah,
Holy
thinking about it.
shit,
Just think
dude.
about dick all the time. One man specifically.
One man. Oh my god, this is good.
To end out this news story, I have a fun headline though.
Okay.
It's from the National Review. It
wanna
says,
hear
quote, Marjorie Taylor Greene may have sent Hunter Biden's nudes to a bunch of minors.
No way.
The idea here is that during this committee hearing, when she showed the revenge porn of Hunter Biden having
like
sex
an act
with hookers,
that's illegal.
the idea here is that she showed these pictures at this congressional committee, and those same images or a video of those images was also sent through a campaign email, which teenagers may have been on because it's not age locked. So she just sent this video to a bunch of her constituents, some of which may have been underage.
Marjorie
minors.
Taylor Greene sends porn to minors.
Yeah.
That's a title right there.
That's
Come
crazy.
on. That's nuts.
So yeah, protect the children. Just a nonsense story. Like, what the hell?
Imagine imagine the founding fathers seeing this.
Yeah.
Imagine Benjamin Franklin getting word of this.
The sacred halls, right?
Oh, holy shit.
Just being corrupted
The
with
framers
dick.
of the Constitution just coming through like, what is going on?
Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that story. Go find the pictures if you want. I don't know. I'm not going to show them.
Look them up. We can't show them.
No, we won't. It doesn't need to be spread anymore. Like you can go find them yourself.
I mean, they said it themselves. Everybody's already seen them. They've been on the internet long enough.
Exactly. Some extra stories to end out the news cycle here and end out this episode. First one, if we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't know if you saw this, but Biden did a little remix ad with Marjorie Taylor Greene in it. Wasn't an AI voice, actually.
Really?
They basically just clipped her saying a bunch of good things about Joe Biden. And they kind of like flipped the context around. There was like clips from her at various conventions where she's like, yeah, he's continuing FDR's legacy and investing in an infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. And they just made it so it looked really good for Biden, which I thought was cool.
That's sick. We love clip chipping.
Yeah, yeah. Some people have predicted, although this is total conspiracy, that Marjorie Taylor Greene did the cock photos after this ad aired to get back at him. I don't think it worked.
I'm gonna show your son's cock to everyone watching C-SPAN. to get back at you for clip chipping me. Come on.
What a strategy. What a serious
She's
political
just
strategy.
in the gutter right now. What else does she have to do after getting what? She was kicked out of the Freedom Caucus, right?
Divorced, yeah.
Divorced?
Yeah.
What else does she have
Probably
to do?
lost
Fuck,
custody of her kids. Like, who knows, right?
Out there fucking 3 bottles of wine deep.
Villain
like,
origin story.
I'm gonna pull up the cock tomorrow. You think she did it like 11 p.m.?
Yeah, she made it on Canva. On Canva, she's sliding the black
ready
boxes.
to go to bed. So some staff are still in the office working real hard, about to leave, checks the email right before he or she left, and she's like, censor the cock.
Yeah. Some staffers writing like a serious piece of legislation that's meant to like showcase that, you know, she's getting back on track. She's a serious legislator.
Exactly.
And then she's like, I need the cock photos.
I
Are you done with those
need you
yet?
to censor these.
Yeah.
Scrap what you're doing. Throw it away.
Just imagine the person who had to print those out to like post them on the board. Imagine the person who had to organize the board. So silly. And I love the big boards in Congress. I think those are gas.
They're fun.
They're
And
really fun.
every time a conservative brings one out, it's something sick. Like when Ted Cruz, during Ketanji Brown Jackson's hearing, brought out the anti-racist baby book. Gas,
Do you think
dude.
this baby is racist? The other tiny news story that we can talk about as we end out has to do with the writers' strike, the writers and actors' strike now that we talked about last week. There was this story that I can't remember which company.
Universal.
Or studio. Is it Universal?
I think so.
Universal had gone out and cut all of the leaves off of the trees so that the strikers wouldn't have any shade as they walk down the sidewalk. First of all, destroying public property. And I think LA County or whoever's in charge of that is already on
The
them about that.
LA comp, because like if you don't know, they were protesting on the public sidewalk. They were under the shade of the public trees during hot California summer, and Universal had someone come through and trim the trees so that they didn't. They had less shade. Illegal. You can't do that. You don't own those trees. The LA comptroller came through and said something like, every 3 years the trees can be trimmed, and you have to get a special permit whenever you want to do that. Universal did not get, or whatever company did not get this permit. What they did was illegal, and we'll be pursuing them with like fines.
Yeah, I mean, it probably won't do anything to them.
No, it's
But
like, ugh.
it's another case of imagine being that guy out at 3 a.m, literally cutting branches off of trees so that strikers who are making $26,000 a year don't get to strike. Like, it's, first of all, again, destruction of public property and just another level of petty.
Imagine being just the studio exec and you're like, oh, how do we break this strike? We already told them we're going to wait it out till they don't have homes anymore.
Sun poisoning.
What if they didn't have shade either?
Uh-huh.
Huh?
Yeah. What if we send them to the hospital because they overheated in the 115-degree California sun?
That's good. Next, they're going to, I don't know, send like interns or whoever's not striking that work. They're executive interns. They're executive assistants. They're going to send them out to every store in like, I don't know, a 3-mile radius, buy all the water.
They could probably do it.
Every single pack of water.
Come back to work if you want to drink.
Just have it inside. At this point, I'm giving them ideas. I'll bill them for it.
I don't know how you can look at the story of Universal Studios doing this and be like, yeah, this is totally normal company behavior.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, the companies are correct here.
Fuck those strikers, actually. They don't deserve shade
Also,
or wages.
On the topic of this writer's strike, so many people in our comments just defending the studios for some reason. Like, what are you doing? First of all, if you're right wing, you should want the companies to fail. I thought they were woke and like ran by Jewish people or whatever. Like, I thought that was
I thought you hated the Jewish like pedophiles that ran Hollywood.
Yeah.
Don't you want to see them, like, I don't know, lose some of the money?
Like, why? What are you doing licking the boot? Come on now. Like,
Yeah.
it's so silly. I don't know what.
I saw a bunch of people saying, well, they should just be better at their jobs then.
Yeah.
Not understanding that this is an industry-wide strike.
Yeah.
Like, if
Part of which has to do with AI, by the way.
akin to, like, if every factory worker in the country went on strike, you would not tell them to go work at another factory because they can't.
Yeah, where else are you gonna go, dog?
Like, they're writers in Hollywood. What are they going to do? Move to fucking Bollywood? What do you want?
Not even to mention that, like, working harder doesn't translate to more money. Are you really going to argue that the hardest working Americans are the ones that make the most? That's the position that you're going to take? I don't think that anybody actually believes that, except for the people that tell you meritocracy is real.
Except for, like, middle managers.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that believe that.
It's just absolutely insane that anybody would go to bat for these studios. Like, what are we doing?
They've been so comic book evil.
Yeah.
This a whole entire time. And then they cut it. They eat the fine because they know they can, which doesn't even make makes sense, right? It's like, just pay them more. You're going to get like hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines. You could have just paid them more.
You could have just paid them more, and what they're asking for represents like a small percent of the net profit that they're actually taking in. And on top of that, it would just enable them to make better products, which makes you more money. Come on.
We've talked about it so many times that these strikes cost so much more than what they...
This is a thing that always happens, that always really bothers me about strikes, but people that defend the companies always act as though, or imply, that companies and the people that run them are just these like forces of nature that have to act certain ways because that's what the profit motive dictates. No, these are individuals making decisions, right? And the trees thing perfectly represents that. Some individual or a group of CEOs or executives or whatever said, let's go and cut the trees so people have to burn in the hot sun in California. An individual made that decision. Are there structural pressures that compel them to act in certain ways to derive more and more profit? Of course.
No.
But they're still human beings that have agency. And ultimately, at the end of the day, these structural pressures are what we're trying to upend.
God, it's just so fucking silly the way that they act. Because it's like, is there really a structural pressure there to make you go do an illegal thing and break the trees?
Well, that, no. But I meant generally like the process.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But it's like the trees thing, that is wholly just an individual just being cruel.
Yeah, you're just being mean, right? You're just being
like,
evil.
I get that there's structural pressure on the studio to want to break the strike, but to do this is so petty.
Yeah.
It's beyond petty.
You didn't have to. It's
God,
purely extra.
An intern is gonna buy all of the sunscreen in LA County.
Yeah.
They're done for, bro. They're playing the long game. You're gonna lose your house and give you melanoma.
We're gonna cause a shortage of these products. We're going to start a wildfire, actually.
No.
Anyway, I think that brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you all enjoyed that news. The DeSantis talk, the Marjorie Taylor Greene talk, the cock news. I mean,
cock news.
Can't beat
Who
that,
doesn't love hearing about cock news, huh?
Exactly.
Come on now.
Who doesn't love hearing about cock? But before we got to close out this episode, you know who we have to thank.
The people who love hearing about cock so much that they that they give us money every month. And with that, I have to give a special thanks to Nikki Nine Lives, Caden Kraut, Lord T the Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Talia Kotz, 40% Spite, Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Mattias T, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Dylan B, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Jim Bobbs, Carl D, Rich Torrell, Tari, Gavin Meyer Maldonado, Hunter W, Fergalaki, Max Vezquez, Jacob Rogers, Colton Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cuts, Gregory Isn't My Name, Veryuk, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Crawfishin, Benneth Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Niche, Big Booty Beatdown, Moises T, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Benjamir's Boyfriend, Jonathan Cassis, Luke O'Shea, Cucker Tarlson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft,
Jennifer Signs, Aaron and his Gundams, Darth Father, Aiden Taylor, Corey Chambers, Sewer Snack, L.E.N., John Glover, Weed Thief 69, Devin Hatchard, Retro Mondo, Meatball Minion, Emma the Dude Slayer, Claire McMillan, Breezy B, Elijah Murray, Veronica aka V, Raxon, Ash Smith, The Grotler, Magic Ian 95, Flower Clown, Jasper and Garris, Beetlebugs, Three Crows in a Trench Coat.
Trench Coat, really?
Fuck.
Wow.
It's just a long name, you know what I'm saying? Lonnie Rogers.
So now you're wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Lonnie Rogers, Slavic and Sapphic, Casey Lynn Kelly, Snake Eyes, and Hopa Giants, AK Gone, Aquana Dawn, Zach Lantian, Info Russell, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Dustin Waldron, Taylor Rensock, Ishi Teddy, Cammy, Calliope, Reagan, Not Like the President, Pagan Jester, Tylen Freeman, Steak Daddy, Tay-Tay, Chill Cascade, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C, Pab the Pab 69, and my mom. Thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon.
Excellent.
If you want to get your name on that list, you know where to go. If you want early access to all of our episodes and content, patreon.com/TheOfficePod.
If you want to never be victims of the weekly news cycle, if you want to never be victims of everything fun happening on Monday and Tuesday except for last week.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what to do.
Head over to the Patreon. And if you want to look nice this summer,
TheOffice.com.
Grab yourself some merch. Grab a t-shirt, grab a hat, grab some stickers. You know where to go.
If you happen to be striking at Universal Studios and there's no more shade by you, you're going to need something to cover your pretty little face. You know what I mean? Your beautiful eyes.
Every tragedy is an opportunity.
You know, there's a silver lining in everything, really.
Yeah, we're to bring it full circle. Thanks for listening,
Have
everyone.
a great week, everyone.